Tonight is the September 14th regular meeting of the RTM. It is 7:08. I call the meeting to order. If you could do the roll call, please.
Okay, Representative Adams. Here. Bailey. Is he online?
He's online.
Okay. Burrell. Here. Bright, I see you. Casper, I see you. Surf. Oh, no. Representative Casper, there's something wrong with your speaker, so you're going to have to be muted, unfortunately. Chase? Here. Please, let him. Crockett Hubbard. Dean Shinbrot is there. I see her. Sema Eben is here. Frickman. Ritchie is here. Gardner. Here. Gothier. Guinepiero? Nope. No. Gustafson's here. Hainline? Here. Hanscom is absent. Ivy? No. Jacome? Yes. Here. Massett? Here. Merritt? Here. Norman? Online. I see her. Aubrey? Kay Powers is here. S. Powers? Here. Pacino? Ray? Didn't I see her? Nope. Scott? Nope. Cimarero? Here. Thomas? Here. B.C. Williams online. Watson? Here. Weaver? No. Wells? Online. Lee White? Whitney? Representative Whitney? Nope. And Rusk. That's here. Oh, and one new person, Perry, 26 present. You have a new representative as of this evening.
Bailey here.
Yep, I got you, sir.
I'd like to
thank
welcome
you.
Representative Perry back.
Yay.
We will all rise and have a moment of silence, please. Representative Perry, would you mind leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So everyone should have received the August 10th, 22 meeting minutes. Are there any corrections? Seeing no corrections, they will be approved as is. It is now time for public petition. This is the portion of the RTM agenda where the RTM where the RTM welcomes comments from the public. Each presentation should be limited to 5 minutes or as directed, and if possible, submitted written comments. Presentations should be limited to matters pertinent to the town of Groton. The moderator or members through the moderator shall ask questions only in order to clarify the speaker's presentation. Responses may be given by the moderator and or the town manager. Individuals should state their name and address for the record. I have one person signed up, Valerie Levy.
Hello.
Stand close.
My name is Valerie Levy. I live at 159 Mather Avenue in Groton at Branford Manor. How do you submit written comment?
How do you submit written comment? You could send an email to myself or to the town clerk.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Recently at the playground, there was rebar sticking out of the concrete. The concrete barrier should have never been put in. It's really just not safe for the children. There's no reason for it to be there. When it was laid down, it was obvious that this rebar was sticking out. It was hidden in the grass from myself and other caregivers. when the cement was first laid down, it was vandalized before it was dried. And so they had to go back through and they had to fix it. So not only did they see it the first time, they saw it the second time as well. And it was just really, really scary to think of what really could have happened to one of the children or to anybody there. Recently, the heater in our upstairs master bedroom had stuff growing on it. I did put in a work order, and I kind of got a frustrating comment back about how it was residents' responsibility to clean their heaters, but we've only lived there 9 months, and our heaters should not have been in the condition that they were when this growth started blooming out from it. You're just in really bad condition, and they were not cared for before we moved in. It was really scary, and I wish I had thought about checking them, but when we moved in late November, the heaters were already on, so I didn't think about it. But our heater has been leaking, and then our downstairs closet underneath our staircase was not in the condition it was when we moved in. The wall is moving. There's spaces between multiple corners inside in the wall, and it really gives me anxiety about us coming up and down the stairs, because what is the risk to her or I falling through into the closet? If you go straight up our stairs, what is directly in front of you is the bathroom, and the bathroom floor has been warping. Besides the bathroom floor warping, the closet and the growth on the heater and the leaking heater was missed by both environmental specialists that related sent through our home, and ledge light as well. So with the heater and the closet, and so it's just really, really, really frustrating. And my daughter's toys have become moldy. We've only lived there 9 months. We've only been on the East Coast for 9 months. We came from the West Coast. And so I'm doing my best to navigate this, but it's exceptionally frustrating because it takes so much time, effort, energy, resources in order to combat all of this. It shouldn't be in the condition that it is, and we shouldn't have a dirt foundation. We have a hole in the downstairs that the heater cover was covering that goes down to the crawl space. Or at least I'm pretty sure it goes down all that way. And when I put in our work orders, I attached the mayor, the deputy mayor, a few councilmen, and now I attach ledge light. I do apologize to anyone. My daughter and I were here at the last, well, it wasn't the last, but it was when Ledge Light was here, because I did not understand that there was a YouTube channel, and so I do greatly apologize if she was disruptive to anyone. But I also want, so my daughter and I are actually having our first night in a hotel. We were technically supposed to be in there Saturday, but things didn't work out. But besides all of this, if there's any councilman who wants to come to my home to have a walkthrough to view what is going on, you know, to see everything, to witness everything, please reach out to me. I will definitely take you through. I will show you things.
I'm sorry, you're out of time.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Can't do that, actually.
Can you email me or call me and get your number?
Okay.
Thank you.
And I do have a meeting related tomorrow, me and Keith Hedrick, and I'll bring this up with him tomorrow.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
Ma'am, that we
We can't
Oh.
do
can't do that.
that.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else
No.
at the end?
Give me a minute. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak? Do you have a clarifying question?
I wanted to speak to her, yes, for a minute.
Do you have a clarifying question is the question?
Yes.
Representative Evan.
So I just wanted to say to you, Ms. Levy, that that you should never feel that you have overburdened us by coming to public, public testimony to give your concerns about Branford Manor. And I would like to ask, actually,
What's your point of order?
my question
hold
is
on.
directed to
Representative
Mr.
Evan,
Burt.
if you could wait, please.
My point of order is that we are not to respond to citizens' petitions. We
Correct.
can ask for clarification, but no.
And I'm going to
have a-
ask Mr. Burt for clarification right now about that. I would like to know where the process is for the tax abatement at Branford Manor. I understand from your newsletter that you've gone to a meeting there, but I would like to know what is tangibly being done to alleviate the problems that we hear on a monthly basis. Thank you.
Thank you. If you want to address that during your, okay. Representative Merritt, did you have a question?
I didn't catch the address.
It is 159 Mather Avenue.
Is this Branford Apartments?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other clarifying questions? Is it a clarifying question?
Yes. Has Branford Manor approached you at all about how to remedy this problem?
That's not a clarifying question. That's a discussion. Thank you.
We just need to understand.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We are moving on to, is there anybody else in the audience who wishes to speak? Okay. Counselor Bordelon, are you wishing to speak during citizens petition?
Yes, thank you. I'm not sure. I guess I know there was discussion at the last meeting about ex officio members speaking under public comment. So should I speak? Just want to make sure I'm following whatever new rules you guys are trying to set forward. How should I move forward?
We have not passed that rule, so you could speak now, but the rule
Perfect.
will be
Thank you.
discussed. Go ahead.
So for full disclosure, I'm a counselor. My name is Portia Bordelon. I'm also a taxpayer and a resident here in the town of Groton. Tonight, I will speak as a resident, 24 Jefferson Drive, Groton, Connecticut. Again, I'm overwhelmed, very concerned for the welfare and well-being of the residents of Branford Manor. Looking at all the deficiencies, I hope that the town manager will speak tonight regarding the Ledgelight concern that has recently come forward, where they actually did make some adjustments in their writing and stating that related is at, basically needing to fix and repair at one residence thus far. I am concerned as a resident that taxpayer dollars are, being, basically we're deferring taxes to a company who is not using the money, in my opinion, in a way that was as stated in the project. The amount of money that was being abated, as well as the money that's was supposedly used per unit. Recently, actually, the resident who just spoke, she posted online pictures of where the pipes that produce heat for her house are leaking and mold all underneath those. Extremely concerned that we need to act fast, swiftly, and protect our residents on all sides of town. I encourage the RTM body to get involved if they can and help the folks of Branford Manor, not only for the people who live there now, but anybody that is to come. I also wanted to speak regarding, I'll speak as a counselor now, if that's okay. I am concerned about the eliminating the military, volunteer and police and fire. As I stated before, they are the first responders. They do show up into my neighborhood. I did see a correspondence that came from the union there, and they were excited that they were considered to be part of this document. And I just encourage this body to consider keeping military, civilian folks who own and reside in the town of Groton. They are too taxpayers, and they also protect and serve. So that's all I have for tonight, and I thank you. Oh, the last thing, the referral from Councilor Scott, very, very interesting. Not sure where that is. I think before we were always able to speak. First, you're a taxpayer in the town of Groton before you become an elected official, and you should have the right to come speak. If I choose to exercise that right at the beginning for a few minutes, or I can speak under committee reports as an ex officio member or raise my hand throughout the meeting. I choose not to typically do that. I encourage this body not to block the right of the people to speak. I deserve the right to come here and speak before this group. I have no other opportunity because then it's considered a meeting. So this is my one opportunity to voice my concerns, and I'm concerned if that was to pass, that this body is blocking the voices of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to make a point of clarification on this. For ordinances, we do not get to change an ordinance. We simply vote or veto it or don't do anything at all. So just some clarification on that.
It's already been enacted.
Perfect, thank you.
Receipt of communications. Does anyone, Councilor Thomas? Or, sorry, Representative Thomas.
Not a counselor yet. All right, so I received a number of communications. First and foremost, I received an email from the lawyer representing over 100 Branford Manor residents, and she asked me to read it into the record. And I've also forwarded this email to the clerk and the moderator and asked them to forward it to the whole body here, because there are attachments. Attached is the order Ledgelight Health District issued for Sarah Alvarez's apartment. You met Sarah Alvarez earlier this month when she participated in public comment. These conditions, existing for months, are causing stress, humiliation, depression, and respiratory issues for this family. The landlord agreed to pay for a temporary relocation, but they are now 3 weeks in arrears, causing her family to have to return to this mold-infested home. See the photos. Here's what the council can do. Town council, city council, it's a broad-based email. It's also addressed to the city mayor. Amend the rental housing code to explicitly authorize the building department to enforce environmental hazards such as mold, moisture incursion, and other airborne contaminants. Find related in default of their agreement to improve the residents' lives. Indeed, they have been making the residents' lives objectively worse since 2017. Call related to account at public city council and town council meetings for these conditions. In June, at the June 14th meeting of the town council, they told the town council that they knew exactly what had to be done. The truth is that they have no plan in place to remediate the moldy conditions while they try to figure out solutions for the systemic moisture incursion. I'm ready, willing, and able to speak with each of you further to provide whatever information you need. I have been working with these families since early June and have amassed a lot of information I'm willing to curate and share with you. We can't let our neighbors live like this. Very truly yours, Amity R. Scott, attorney for Sarah Alvarez and over 100 Branford Manor residents. So I urge you all to review that email and take a look at the attachments. I received another email from Councilor Baumgardner, which also I forwarded to the clerk and the moderator to pass around.
May I ask when those were forwarded, because I have not seen them?
6:42, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And they, hold on 1 second.
Nope,
So this one says, it's addressed to Mr. Baumgardner, but you'll see it's addressed to the RTM as a whole. I would like to thank you for your consideration, time, and efforts that are being put forth in this town ordinance. On behalf of the officers and members of the IAFF Local F219 and the Submarine Base Fire Department, the consideration to be included in your town ordinance language is especially grateful. You may or may not know that many of our members at the Submarine Base Fire Department live in the community surrounding the subbase. This would be a great benefit to our families should the need arise. This ordinance could very well be the path to other towns to pass the similar ordinances as well. We respond on a regular basis and have mutual aid agreements with all of the town's fire districts. If there's a significant event in the town of Groton, there is a very good chance our members from the submarine base are on the scene assisting to control whatever the disaster may be. Please share with the RTM members who are pushing back on this topic that even though the submarine base may be a federal entity, our members are civilian firefighters employed by the Navy and live in the town, pay their taxes, and rely on support from the community just like our municipal counterparts. At a time when volunteerism is in great decline, this ordinance may very well be the recruitment tool that the area fire chiefs need to bring in new volunteers. If the decline in volunteers continues to trend as it currently is, towns and fire districts may see an increase in local taxes as fire districts bring on more paid staff to respond to the ever-increasing call for service. If there is a way that IAFF Local F2119 can assist or answer questions, please feel free to reach out to us. Again, thank you for reaching out and considering our members as a valuable resource to the community. Best regards, Kevin Wager, President, IAFF, Local F2119, Subbase Firefighters. I also received an email that I forwarded to the clerk and the moderator from the town clerk, and that has to do with tax abatements and the town attorney's opinion on why the RTM is not in any way an oversight body for those. However, sometimes we are, sometimes we're not, as we are debating tonight later. So that is right here, and that one says, oh, where'd it go? Here it is. Got it. All right, so the town attorney's opinion. Following up on your question as whether the RTM has to approve tax abatement stabilization agreements in general, the answer is no. This is from Eileen Dugan, the town attorney. My understanding is that potential abatements or stabilization agreements arise when the town sells a piece of property and abates taxes for a period of time. As set forth in Town Charter 4.1.2, the powers of the RTM are limited as follows. A, approve or amend or approve budgets passed by the council in accordance with Chapter 9 of the Charter. B, approve or reject supplemental appropriations in excess of $10,000 in accordance with Chapter 9. C, approve or reject bonding ordinances in accordance with Section 5.5.5.1. D, accept or reject gifts, grants, or bequests of real or personal property with a value in excess of $10,000. E, accept or reject all open spaces and roads not a part of an approved subdivision. And reference to Section 5.4.10. And F, all powers granted under CGS to the town meeting where the objective of such statute cannot be otherwise accomplished by the town pursuant to CGS, charter, or ordinances. These listed charter powers do not expressly reference a role for the RTM in tax abatements. Separate from any charter provision, tax abatements generally are authorized through statutory provisions. See the Connecticut General Statutes, and I see that's a whole bunch of numbers. And owner or lessee or such statutes typically require that the legislative body of the municipality act. The town council is the legislative body of the town. As a result, the town council's actions are generally required. I would, however, suggest that the applicable statute and any potential abatement be reviewed to ensure that it does not somehow fall outside these general parameters. So, that's rather murky still. Now, I also received another set of emails, which I will forward along here shortly to share with the whole body, but it's in regards to the estate sale. Concerned resident wanted to call my attention to the fact that the state is still pushing forward to sell the Mystic Oral School property to Rustler for $1. and leaving it up to our planning and zoning department to fend off any other sort of overt development. So I'll send those in. There's a series of them, but I just wanted to share that information with everyone.
Representative Dean Shinbrot.
Hi, thank you, Madam Moderator. I received a phone call today from a resident, Ms. DeSantis, at 172 Dartmouth Drive. She's concerned about an adjoining property owner's trees that are dead, that are leaning onto her property. I guess several have fallen onto our property and she's had them removed. And it's a close neighborhood. These are all Puerto Rico lots. These are not large tracts of land. She did speak to the town arborist, who said that a lot of the ash trees are dead throughout town. She wanted to know if there was something the town could help with as far as getting an adjoining property owner to take care of a nuisance such as a dead tree that's threatening an adjoining property owner. She was with some other neighbors going over to talk to the resident that owns the trees, but she wasn't very hopeful of having any resolution. So I didn't know if we could make a referral.
Would it fall under a blight ordinance?
We actually can't take care of trees on private
On
property.
private
We actually looked
property.
at that this week, and I left her a message and offered, we have a handout that explains the law and all that. That's a civil attorney. We don't get involved in that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Representative Eben.
I received a letter from Mr. Richard Fitzgerald about coastal access and signage in Mystic, and I won't read that letter, but and I don't know if everyone got a copy of it. Yes? Okay. So I just want to note that I hope we can have maybe a little update on that, Mr. Burt, when you give your updates. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Jacome.
Representative Eben mentioned it. Yeah, I just wanted to bring to attention that we received that letter again from Mr. Fitzgerald, and if there could be some sort of update. I know there was some, he did get some sort of coastal signage that we approved, what got approved in the budget, so I just want to see what are his other concerns and anything like that. Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes. Representative Sir.
Yes, I attended a town council meeting last week, and I met with one of the people who spoke at the town council, and she spoke to me afterward in detail. A group of people spoke about, they live in Steamboat Wharf in Mystic, and they were very distressed about a couple of things, is that there are not enough bathrooms in downtown Mystic. The public bathroom is locked at night, and John, you told me because you'd had vandalism there. I asked you.
We sent out a follow-up email after the council meeting. I didn't send it to you. They're actually open 24/7.
Well, there's a problem in that there's a lot of young people that go to these bars that stay open to 2 in the morning, drink a lot of beer, and have no place to relieve themselves. And they have been doing it in the bushes, under the windows of these people who live in Steamboat Wharf, and the residents that are directly in downtown Mystic who are very upset about it. In addition, there's a huge amount of noise that they make. And so...
I've got a whole update on it tonight. I'll go over
all right.
that.
I was going to ask Representative Bright to bring it up to the police commission because they were told that when somebody, excuse me for using the word, somebody urinates in public, that the police cannot give them a ticket unless they catch him in the act. Now, if you're looking out your window and you see some kids urinating in public and you call the police, by the time the police get there, it's going to be very hard to catch them in the act. It's too late. So there has to be a solution to this because they've been doing the same in my yard, by the way, because I find a lot of my plants are burnt out, etc. There's another thing is a noise ordinance, and I'm told there that we don't have a noise ordinance, and it's because whoever would have to enforce the noise ordinance aren't necessarily thrilled about having to do that. But that's not fair to the residents who are trying to sleep. Just because staff or whoever works for the town doesn't want to enforce doesn't want an ordinance so that they don't have to enforce it, I don't think that's fair. There's more and more rock and
Okay,
roll
I'm
playing
going to take
outside.
exception with that. Please do not try to say that is not the case. So please don't say anything.
Do we have a noise ordinance?
No, but we can ticket for noise, and it's not staff saying they don't want to enforce it. I'll update that on my thing, but please don't try
All
to
right,
put
well,
motive to the
I've
to
been
the
hearing
staff.
people asking about this for years and years, and I think it's time that we had a noise ordinance, especially with Mystic becoming so incredibly rowdy at night. So
Sorry,
I'm just,
Madam Moderator.
all of these people were really quite worked up. They're upset. They paid lots of money for their condos, and they can't sleep at night. So, and their gardens are getting ruined. So, you know, I just thought this body should know about it, and I was hoping that maybe Representative Bright could bring it up to the police.
So the town manager stated that he would address this in his report. Can we hold off
You're
until
going to
his
give us a report? Okay, good.
Yes. Is there anybody else who has an update? We did receive an email from Mr. Will Langdon regarding the water or recommendation for a water desalination plant. I did forward that on to the mayor in the city. And there was discussion or a question afterwards about how our water level is. So I did ask about that at the last city council meeting. Prior to yesterday's rain, we were at 85%. So our water level is still doing very well. And I don't know what we're at today after yesterday's rain, but I just wanted to give you that heads up. Anybody else?
You have something. You have people that said they weren't going to come, and you have something.
So I received comments, or I received an email from Representative Kopp, Representative Crockett-Hubbard, Representative Hanscom, Representative Obrey, Representative Pacino, and Representative White that they were not able to attend tonight. And then I was asked to read an ordinance.
Nope, it's proclamation.
Proclamation, I lied. Sorry, proclamation. Proclamation recognizing Constitution Week of 2022. Whereas September 17th, 2022 marks the 235th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention, and whereas it is fitting and proper to officially recognize this magnificent document and its memorable anniversary, and to the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate the occasion, and whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issue of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America, and whereas this year the President of the United States has designated September 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week, now therefore be it resolved that the Town Council of the Town of Groton does hereby encourage the citizens of Groton to reaffirm the principles and ethics of the framers of the Constitution had intended in 1787 and recognize the intention was for the document to adapt to societal changes in order to protect our liberties, and may it be further resolved that the Town Council and the Town of Groton duly proclaim the week of September 17th through 23rd to be the Constitution Week dated at Groton, Connecticut, the 17th day of September 2022. I was asked to read that.
It's next week.
That is next week, yes. We are now on to the town manager report.
Good evening. First, the financial report. Preliminary fund balance as of June 30th, 2022, unaudited, is approximately $35.7 million, which is 25.9% of the FYE 2022 general fund adopted budget. Though, as you remember, we have scheduled to use a fair chunk of that during the budget. Contingency budget for FY23 was appropriated at $300,000, and that has not changed on the amount left. Capital reserve fund balance as of June 30th, unaudited, is estimated at $1.4 million. Final numbers for FYE 22 will be available once all year-end entries have been posted. Touching just dimension, I'll send out like I usually do, a more full report email later tonight. ARPA is moving along. The Long-Term Recovery Committee is scoring out projects right now. Thank you for instance, Representative Evans, who's serving on that. We're meeting on the 28th to, we'll see how far we get. Once that process is done, then it'll go to the town council. They'll make whatever changes or do whatever they want, and then it'll be it'll be sent to the RTM. Mentioning the attorney opinion, I would not characterize it as murky. What she's saying there, and I've talked to her afterwards, anything we've worked with, she looked at the laws we've dealt with, and there was nothing in there, but you could have a new law that says, here's this new tax abatement, and you have to take it through any financial body you have. That's what she's saying, is you have to always, whatever law is involved, you have to make sure you've seen that law and reviewed it to make sure there's nothing new there. And she reviewed the ones we've done past ones for. So you don't know what's going to come up, but it is very clear. Let's see, our just to mention finance director search, we're still looking, still going through that process, hoping to have someone soon. Mystic complaints, there's kind of a lot to this, and I've got it in my report to you later, but we can currently ticket for noise. The problem is it's only $100. We're not necessarily opposed to a noise ordinance. A couple of officers have brought it up if it greatly increases the amount. What we didn't want to get into is decibels, because you have to go through the union to allow for using it. You have to get them trained yearly. You have to get the equipment calibrated every year. And at the time, I think it was around June of 2018, right around there, June 10th of 18, I think, that the council reviewed that. We had a draft ordinance, but it involved decibels. So it was turned down at the time, but Councilor McBride has brought it up as a referral, so that is on the list to bring back up. In terms of other noise and other things, Chief Fusaro about 2 weeks ago and Captain McCarthy met with neighbors down there, including several of the ones that came to town council. And then they met with owners of several of the restaurants/bars. Police did ticket an employee, it was probably 3 weekends ago now, for noise, but again, $100 is not sufficient to really deter. However, what he did next was brought the Liquor Commission in to meet with each of the restaurant bars about a week and a half ago, and they let the owners know that if you don't comply with local rules, we can yank your liquor license. The day after that, it may not have trickled down. The day after that, we did have one place using an area that did not receive permission yet to actually utilize it. It wasn't finalized. So our Tom Zanarini, our building official, was sending a notice on that. He also sent a notice on utilizing music after 10 p.m. So there's actually 2 notices that went out in the last couple of weeks. Because of the second one that happened on utilizing space after Liquor Commission came, Chief Fusaro assigned somebody, because he was out this week, to actually fill out the paperwork for Liquor Commission to create a complaint. So there's actually quite a bit going on with that. And one thing that's happening at the restaurant under construction is I guess what I've heard is one of the bathrooms is not available right now. And not enough people know where it's actually real close to where our public restrooms are. So Greg Hanover is going out there to look where we could put some signage up and direct people to where the actual bathrooms are. So there's actually quite a lot going on with those things we're trying to handle. I do believe that you have to be seen urinating, or else proof of it. I don't think somebody can just tell you, from what I understand, but it could certainly be brought up at the police committee. Branford Manor, just a reminder, the town does not have any enforcement powers. For instance, our housing rental code does not apply to the city. The city has their building official, and Legislate has their authority. Let's see here. The Legislate and the city official, we originally, from their attorney, the tenant's attorney, Attorney Arscott, sent, I think it was 36 complaints. So the building official for the city and Legislate conducted inspections on, I believe it was August 30th. About half of them got inspected, and right away the building official issued any of his findings. The Legislate's still working on it. They've sent out, I think, maybe 2 now. We're still waiting on others. And then yesterday we received 7 more copies of 7 more. I get copies of 7 more complaints to the city and Legislate. Legislate and the city are going back out again this week to do more inspections on the 15th and 16th. I don't know if the bill fit in the new 7, but I think they're hoping to wrap up those original 36, so they're moving on with that. The city did, like I said, I think they issued 19 notices that you have to have this corrected within a certain amount of time, so they will have to correct those things, and the Legislate would do the same thing for anything they do. Mayor Hedrick and I have been keeping in touch with HUD, who has a lot of oversight over them also. We have another meeting set for next week with them, see what the latest is. The town mayor has invited the future leaders of the tenants union to attend the September 27th Committee of the Whole to continue on with discussions on that. And that's really kind of the long and short of it. And like I mentioned earlier briefly, the Mayor Hedrick and I do have a meeting with Related tomorrow, and so I'll mention the complaint that was received earlier to find out where that is. And they're usually pretty, if we pass on complaints, they try to help us wherever they can and just speed it up. And then our attorney had also talked to their attorney, and I know we're trying to get a lockdown timeline, but you know, it's a little slow going, and so we're working on pushing on that. So that is my update.
Any follow-up questions? Representative Thomas.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Glad to hear that the tenants are going to come to the town council. What's going to be the format of that situation? Is it going to be the tenants and the city and Related and? No, the mayor wanted to bring Related in 2 cows later. That's what he had told the council he was going to do. So that's currently what's happening, unless he changes. So it's just going to be the tenants? Just the tenants. Okay. I made this suggestion last month, and I'll make it again. Town council should invite everybody to the table and have everyone talking at the same time, facilitate the conversation that needs to happen, eliminate miscommunications. The tenants that are coming, is it going to be the tenants and their representation? As of right now, I'm not aware of any tenants union that's officially formed. No, the mayor asked me, because we had one meeting between the 3 kind of heading up the future tenants union. We met with Bradford and them a few weeks back, and so the mayor asked me to invite those specific 3 there. So you want to meet with people who are engaged in litigation without their lawyer?
I believe this is a town council matter. I don't think that.
All right, it's not my call.
That's something that the mayor of the town made.
Just want to make a note of that. That's of grave concern and ethically dubious.
It's a decision made by the town mayor, not by this body.
He'll have to live with that, as will we, as the financial body. If litigation turns towards the city and the town, we got to tread carefully. Question about the police chief. He received a raise last night,
Yes.
a 17.8%.
That was from the top of the scale. The elder scale. He's actually above that scale, so it wasn't. It was more like a 10%, I think. Talking to Arnisha, Mrs. Green this morning.
All right, and what was the logic for that?
Well, if you watch the meeting, I'm not going to go back through it. If you watch the meeting, we went into it in depth. It was quite a long conversation, so I could send the link to everybody if they want to watch
So
it.
the synopsis was that you like to have the police chief paid more than everyone else in town?
But that is not. Just watch the thing. Don't put. Yeah.
That's out of order.
Yeah.
though.
That is
Okay.
out of order. You need to
Thank
not.
you.
Thank you.
In regards to the, yeah, okay. Yeah, all right, that's all I got for now.
Representative Evan.
Thank you. Maybe I missed it, Mr. Burt, but did you say where the status of that tax abatement is? I heard you say that the town's
Well, it's
our
entirely. That's
zoning
not,
doesn't cover them, and I understand that,
Right.
but we are giving them an abatement of their taxes that are paid to the town. So where is that process?
It's entirely with the council. So it's up to them.
Okay, and are they discussing it at this meeting that Ian just mentioned?
It's not on the agenda, but anybody can make a motion on the council. I would not be surprised to see a motion.
Why did they invite all this group of people? And what was the purpose of inviting these residents to that meeting?
Well, the residents did come to a meeting with Bramford, representing the tenants, with just them. So I think that was the logic. And then Mayor Hedrick's trying to get into the next meeting scheduled with them.
Okay, thank you.
Seeing no other hands. Economic Development report was sent to you. So we are on to liaison reports. Representative Jacome, do you have a town council report?
Yes, thank you. Let me pull it up.
Do you need a minute?
I got it. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. The town council met for their regularly monthly meeting, September 6th, 6:30. There were several citizens petitions, comments, and concerns regarding Branford Manor, Mystic Noise Rooftop, and light pollution and a trespass ordinance. In sum, the council approved various appointments and reappointments for July and August. They approved the community challenge grant, and they approved the Wolfbrook property release of easement, which was referred to the RTM, is before us tonight. And they also approved the adoption of an ordinance to establish a property tax abatement for surviving spouses of fallen emergency workers, which was referred to us and will be up for discussion tonight as well. The next regular town council meeting is scheduled for October 4th, 6:30, which I believe, or I don't, maybe the town manager can correct, it might be at the annex. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I just, the mayor did announce we were going to move, October 4th will be the first time for the town council at the annex is the plan. So we'll be out of this room soon.
Representative Eben, do you have a long-term recovery committee meeting, minute or update?
We haven't met in months, but we are going to meet, as Mr. Burt said, on the 28th, and we are reviewing the submissions that were submitted to the town under the ARPA form that their planning and Office of Planning and Development developed. So that's all.
Okay, thank you. Representative Chase, I think you have a meeting coming up, maybe? You haven't heard anything? Okay. Representative Casper, do you have a golf report? Representative Casper? Okay, we're going to move on to committee report.
The police report?
Oh, I'm sorry, Representative Bright. Thank you.
Yes, the next scheduled meeting will be on September 19th. And at that time, I will actually bring up the request for noise. I'm going to actually ask them a few questions about, how many complaints are they getting and so forth. But there's nothing to report now because the next meeting is September 19th.
Thank you. Did I miss anyone else? I don't think so. Okay. Committee report, committee reports. First up is Finance with Chairman Powers. Chairman Sean Powers, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. We had a Finance Committee special meeting agenda. It was on Thursday, September 8th at 7 o'clock at the Town Hall Annex, Community Room 2. Call to order happened at 7 p.m. Representatives Chase, Jacome, Scott, Powers, and Gardner were present. Representative Fritchie and Norman were excused. We took up the Wolfbrook property release of easement to start our new business. Representative Chase read the entire resolution for the release of the easement granting the state of Connecticut an open space easement over the Wolfbrook property. It was seconded by Representative Jacome. Our discussion was with Director Reiner, gave the community an overview of the 161-acre parcel with the appraised value of $880,000, where we were paying $800,000, where $220,000 is being paid by the town of Groton. Gosha is paying the other $210,000. The state of Connecticut is paying $352,000, and the remaining $18,000 is coming from private donors. The questions of the type of open space were discussed. We foresee them having hiking and walking trails open to the public with a small parking lot. Chairman Powers called for a vote. It was 5 in favor, 0 opposed, 0 abstention. Second order of business was the supplemental appropriations for FYE 2023. Representative Jacome read the supplemental appropriation into the record. So moved, second by Choice. Discussion was with Manager Burt. He explained the bond process with the war in Ukraine and the interest rates jumping up. There was a rate spike in debt services, which is from the bond and not sale of the Groton School. Which is from the bond and note sale of the Groton School 2020 project. The shortfall interest payment of $384,463 $100,000 will be appropriated from unassigned fund balance. Discussion on the bonding process occurred, and when they occurred for the rates and how it was explained and what the actuaries do in order to figure that out. Chairman Powers called for a vote. 4 were in favor. Representative Gardner was opposed, and there was no abstentions. Third order of business was the reallocation of excessive bond proceeds. Representative Jacome read the resolution. It was seconded by Representative Chase. After discussion on reallocation of funds and savings incurred from the road maintenance rehabilitation project on Thames Street, this is where the money was coming from. The savings of $368,520 were unexpected bond proceeds. The proceeds will be used to reduce the bond funding for the Groton 2020 School Facilities Improvement Program. I'm sure all the questions will go to John on that as well. Chairman Powers called for a vote. 5 were in favor, 0 abstained, 0 opposed. The adoption of an ordinance to establish a property tax abatement for surviving spouses of fallen emergency workers was our final item. The ordinance was reviewed by the committee members, and the language was discussed as to the changes made by the town council, revised and resubmitted to the finance committee. Manager Burt reviewed the 4 changes, which were volunteers were added, lower abatement for monetary values, marital status to qualified, and federal employees exemption from the abatement. Representative Scott made a motion to veto, was seconded by Representative Gardner. This item has been before the committee. We discussed it and reviewed. We all had different concerns about the ordinance. I'm going to briefly read through what they were. The language of the ordinance, volunteers being included, 400% above the poverty level, which is about $54,360. Felt it was too high of a threshold. We talked about professional career choices, union life insurance benefits, union contracts, categorizing town employees, death benefits from workers' comp, and lawsuits associated with death on the job, unprecedented events from workplace or school incidents, who's a first responder, everyone in certain situations. Comment was made, it's the wrong direction for the town to take in regards to benefits, which are negotiated items and contracts. The district of our fire department and the municipal language is incorrect. The committee wished to express the deepest gratitude to all men and women employed by the town of Groton who work as our first responders situation, along with all employees of our town. This is a complex ordinance which needs to be examined and properly negotiated through a bargaining agreement by the group of employees who feel the most impact from the issues. This will be we'll be discussing this in depth again. Chairman Powers called for a vote to veto. Vote to veto was 5 in favor, 0 opposed, 0 abstentions. Chairman Powers made a motion to adjourn. Representative Scott made the motion. It was seconded by Gardner, and we adjourned at 7:32 p.m.
Thank you. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, those are approved. So if you can take Chairman Powers.
Recommendation?
Recommend for the Wolfbrook property. Let's, do you have a recommendation?
Yeah, I'd like to recommend that, I got to read the resolution.
No, yeah, get at it, yeah. You got it?
You want me to read it?
Let me see.
Do you want my copy?
It has to be read. This hasn't been,
Do you want me to read this in?
That would be great.
Okay. Resolution releasing the 2006 conservation easement and granting to the state of Connecticut an open space easement over the Wolfbrook property. Whereas on November 10, 2006, Wolfbrook Development LLC and Mystic Active Adult LLC granted the town of Groton a conservation easement for winds at Mystic Active Adult Community, the 2006 easement, over portions of the property known as the Wolfbrook property situated on Noank Ledged Road, the property, in compliance with local and federal permits that were issued for an adult use development on the property. Whereas the 2006 easement was recorded on November 21, 2006, at volume 964, page 107 of the land records. Whereas the local and state permits expired and the adult use development was not constructed. Whereas on July 6, 2001, the town council approved a resolution to purchase the entire Wolfbrook property for open space purposes, and in connection therewith appropriated $800,000 towards the purchase. The said grant advanced a plan to acquire an open space grant from the state of Connecticut, and thereafter to grant a conservation easement over the entirety of the property. Whereas after the adoption of the above referenced resolution and appropriation, the RTM approved similar resolutions. Whereas the state of Connecticut is requiring, as part of the issuance of an open space grant, that the town release the 2006 easement so that it may be replaced with the state's open space easement. Now therefore be it resolved that the town council of the town of Groton, that the town council shall release the 2006 easement contingent upon the town of Groton acquiring the property and grant to the state of Connecticut an open space easement over the property. And two, the town manager is authorized to sign, execute, and deliver such release, instruments, and other documents reasonably necessary to carry out this resolution, all subject to the review by the town attorney as to form and legality.
Thank you, Madam Moderator.
You're welcome.
So I make the motion. Seconded.
Second, Jacome.
So the motion to approve this was made by Representative Sean Powers, seconded by Representative Jacome. Any discussion? Representative, oh, wait 1 second. Do you want to speak to this?
No.
Okay, Representative Abbott.
Thank you. I just had a clarifying question of Chairman Powers. How many acres is it? I couldn't find that.
It's a 161-acre parcel.
Thank you.
We have John Reiner here, the Director of Planning and Development.
Services.
What?
Services.
If anybody has any questions for him. Representative Eben.
Yeah, hi, Mr. Reiner. My understanding is that that area has a lot of wetlands. Is that correct? I don't think I've been on the property, so I don't know. Is that the reason? I don't know the backstory on this.
Good evening, everyone. John Reiner, Director of Planning and Development. So a good portion of the property is wet, but there's also a lot of developable land. The easement area that exists today is really over the wetland areas of the property. It was required by the Army Corps of Engineers. That permit that required that conservation easement has since expired, but I think it was around 96 acres or so of what the conservation easement was, somewhere in that realm.
Thank you.
So that is part of this, of what the state is requiring, is that at the time of purchase, that we release that easement and then put a conservation easement over the entirety of the property. And we, the town, would retain ownership of the property.
Thank you for that explanation.
Representative Surf.
Yes, I'd like to speak very much in favor. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
With this? I'd like to speak in favor of the purchase of this property and the easement. I know the backstory only too well because I started fighting for this property 20 years ago when I was a member of Groton Open Space Association. And there was a developer that came and was actually draining the wetlands behind our backs to try to make us believe that it wasn't as wet as it was. I went out to look at the property with a friend of mine and our two dogs, which are large, hefty dogs. And as we were walking through and we already had water up to our knees, the dogs fell in this huge pit of water from which they could not come out. And we had to jump in there and get the dogs out. This was supposedly a piece of property where the developers had told us were dry. Weren't dry at all. It's a huge wetlands. And even the expert, the conservation expert for the developer came and testified at the time that it was the most prolific wetlands that he had ever seen in the state of Connecticut. He saw more salamanders and salamander eggs and frogs and all these critters that we really need, all the amphibians that we really need to keep our woodlands healthy than he had ever seen anywhere in Connecticut. And he was an expert who testified all over Connecticut. So it's an absolutely spectacular property. It is incredibly wet. In order to build anything there, you know, we would have a lot of trouble with developers because they would be, you know, they would be trying to cover up wetlands and build too close to the wetlands. They build a road over the wetlands. And I remember this ongoing nightmare for years and years. And all I wanted was for us to be able to get the chance to buy it and save it forever. It's really one of the best properties we have. So I can't say enough in favor of buying this property. And I hope we can get your vote tonight.
Are there any other questions or comments? Representative Brill.
I just want to know where it's just located exactly?
It is, so it's between Flanders and
No Ink Road.
Flanders and No Ink Road. No Ink
Ledyard Road, yeah.
No Ink Ledyard Road, sorry.
Could be a really big piece of property.
Representative Thomas.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. For Director Reiner, just to quick follow up the easement thing, just to put it in as brief a layman's terms. Basically, that's all just a reclassification move, right? It's not, we're not losing any of the land per se. We're just reclassifying the easement and then reincorporating it into the open space. Is that correct?
Yes, but we're also then gaining an easement over the entirety of the property.
Okay. And what exactly does that include? What does that allow? Why call it an easement? Just to be in like brief synopsis.
It's an open space easement, so the property will be protected in perpetuity as open space. We envision that there'll be hiking trails out there. We had included in our grant application that there would be a construction of a small parking lot so that people could park and get to the trailhead. But we do not envision active recreation out there, but more, hiking, foot traffic, things along those lines. It's a very sensitive property from a ecological standpoint.
Great, thank you. And say fast forward 30, 40 years and, a whole bunch of different people here on the RTM, different town council, and someone maybe gets a bright idea they want to develop that area. What protections are in place? How hard would it be to overturn what's being established now with this?
I can't necessarily speak to the future, but the town would have to pay back money for the conservation easement to the state, the grant, probably at fair market value. There'd be a lot of layers to go through to do that. There's also private donations and other funding that was used to offset this. There would probably need to be permission from those organizations, including the Groton Open Space Association. So I don't think that would be an easy task to turn this not into open space after we acquire it.
And I could add on to that if you want.
Okay, please.
It'd be similar to what happened with the Merritt property. Now, that one was a much easier task, but still took a long time for the middle school. You had to, first of all, have basically nobody, you had to go through a court process. You had to have nobody object to it. You had to release the easement there. You had to find equal amounts of property to swap and equal or better value to swap. And again, if people would have not signed on to it, it probably wouldn't have happened. So it'd be very difficult to release this unless everybody was in favor of it.
Right, okay, so there's a whole bunch of counterbalance and a whole lot of thresholds and a lot of stakeholders to appease, not to mention the monetary angle, so the perpetuity seems like it's pretty well established. All right, thank you. Yeah, definitely in favor of this. Thanks.
Representative Chase.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Even though the resolution does not differentiate where that 800,000 is coming from, Do we need to have that in there in order to know that those 4 pots of money are paying for it?
Well, it was already in the approvals to the council, so we're already locked at that.
Okay.
So,
All right, thank you.
Oh, it was in minutes.
Anyone else? Okay. Seeing no further comment, all those in favor of approving the Wolfbrook property release of easement, please raise your hand or say. I'm sorry, I'm just waiting for everybody online. Representative Norman and Representative Kristen Powers, and Representative Wells. I now have Representative Norman. I'm still missing you guys can put your hands down inside, sorry. I'm missing Representative Wells. Everybody else can put their hand down.
Except Wells.
Representative Wells, okay, I'll say any opposed. Is anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Representative Wells, are you available to vote? Okay,
You can't come in.
so we will, we have 1,
25.
2, 3, 4.
No, it's 25.
We have 25 people, so that passes.
No, there's 26, but he's not.
So that passes 25 to 0 to 0. All right, next up is the supplemental appropriation for FYE '23. Do you have that to read it in?
Resolution authorizing a supplemental appropriation from the general fund unassigned fund balance to debt services. Whereas the FYE 2023 budget included estimates for debt services for the April 2022 bond and note sale for the Groton 2020 school facilities project, and whereas due to the unprecedented inflation and unexpected Federal Reserve interest rate increases, the actual debt services for FYE 2023 is higher than the adopted budget amount. Be it resolved that $384,463 is appropriated for the general fund unassigned fund balance to the debt service function 1076 for additional principal and interest payments due in FYE 2023 and referred to the RTM for approval. I have a motion? Make a motion?
You make a motion to approve this?
Approve, yes.
Okay, seconded by Representative Chase. Any discussion? Do you want to speak on this?
yeah, I'll just mention, it was pretty well covered in the minutes. It was terrible timing for going out for the school bonds. We have a financial advisor that watches what's happening in other bond sales. And one had happened right before this, and Ukrainian inflation just was a 1-2 punch at the wrong time. This is something we're required to pay. If we don't actually show the paper trail for where it's coming from, then we get an audit finding.
Any questions? Representative Cerf, you've got a question?
Yes, thank you, Madam Moderator. I've seen the council do this a couple of years ago with another pot of money. There was extra money somewhere, and they instead of giving it back to the general fund, they reallocated it to something of their choice. I don't recall ever in my years on the RTM of the council that we would do anything except take extra money and put it back in the general fund.
Representative Cerf, that would be the next.
Oh, that's the next one?
The next one. So we'll hold off until the next one. Are there any other questions or comments regarding the supplemental appropriation for FYE '23? Okay, all in favor, please raise your hands. We've got everybody in the room.
Norman?
Representative Norman? Okay. If you can all put your hands down. Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Representative Jacome, you had your hand up for yes before? Okay. All right, so that passes 26 to 0 to 0. Thank you. We are moving on to reallocation of excess bond proceeds.
Resolution reallocating bond proceeds from the road maintenance and rehabilitation project. to the Groton 2020 School Facilities Improvement Plan. Whereas the town of Groton authorized $11,200,000 general purpose bonds for the road maintenance and rehabilitation project pursuant to ordinance number 277, and whereas $3,715,000 principal amount of such bonds were sold as part of an $8,945,000 general obligation bond issue of 2014, Lot A, $6,690,000, principal amount of which bonds were sold as general obligation bonds issued of 2018 of $779,779.25, and bond proceeds were reallocated to the road maintenance and rehabilitation project from the design and reconstruction of Thames Street project pursuant to ordinance number 275. And interest income on such bond proceeds was received in the amount of $84,380.72. And whereas the road maintenance and rehabilitation project has been complete, and there remain unexpended bond proceeds in the amount of $368,528. And whereas the excess bond proceeds for the road maintenance and rehabilitation project can be applied to the Groton 2020 School Facilities Improvement Plan, project unauthorized pursuant to ordinance number 284, as amended, and thereby reduce the amount of bonds needed to be issued for the Groton 2020 School Facilities Improvement Plan project. Therefore, be it resolved that on August 3rd, 2022, the Groton Town Council authorized the town manager and the director of finance to apply such excessive bond proceeds in such amounts as they shall determine are available. The ordinance number 277 to the Groton 2020 School Facilities Improvement Plan project. Authorization pursuant to the ordinance number 284 as amended and referred to the RTM for their authorization. Make a motion to accept and approve.
Okay. There's a motion on the floor to approve, seconded by Chase. Discussion? Do you want to touch on this?
Sure. It's a little bit of a weird one. We worked where Cindy worked on this before she left, and then our bond counsel. This cannot be reimbursed to the public. I don't know what kind of bonds those were in the past, but that is not an option here. But this is actually a savings to the town. There's two options that you can do with the funds. You can either leave it in road maintenance to pay on bonds for just the interest part. And those are, that project's all closed out. There's no other bills due per se. Or else you can move it to the Groton 2020 plan, and with that, you can actually, we have some bills still to pay. So you can pay those bills, not bond for it, and then save the interest on it. So it's a cost savings by doing this.
Representative, sir.
Okay, can I return to my little diatribe here? I'm concerned when money that's allocated to one purpose, and there happens to be some extra money, that is then kind of really arbitrarily decided on by the council, you know, where it's going to go to. And it happened a couple of years ago when there was extra money from something, and the town council decided to put it not in a general fund. They decided to put it in a reserve fund, so that we would have more reserve money. And one of the counselors, I've forgotten his name, it was the counselor who passed away a couple of years ago.
Zapiri.
Very wisely said he didn't understand this business of the council reallocating the money. He said this was money that was paid by the taxpayers. It should be returned to the taxpayers. And he was absolutely right. This is what we used to do. I'm sure Harry remembers this. Harry, we used to return extra money to the general fund.
I can remember doing that once.
Hold on.
And not just, you know, reallocate the money according to whoever's whim, you know, before we go into the next budget season. So I understand where if we pay off our bonds now, it's going to save us, you know, the rising interest rate. I understand the logic of that. So I'm not going to make too big a stink, but I do want to make the point that I really find it objectionable when there's extra money that the first thought is not to return it to the general fund. That's where I think it should go. And that more general fund should be applied to the tax bill. As in this year, we should have had more general fund applied to the tax bill, so it wouldn't be so big. Now, my second question is, if the interest rate goes up on our bonds, can you tell us if there's going to be what is it? We have like an adjustable rate mortgage?
No, it's locked in, but you don't know what that interest is until you actually sell the bonds. And so the day of the sale, you get the full schedule of what's going to be paid. So no, it's not, it's a set rate. We
So
just
at the
didn't-
end,
you
at the
just
end
don't know
we-
your first year's
so
rate.
basically, we get our bonds at a certain interest rate, and if we don't sell the bond before the expiration date of that bond, we get the full amount of money back.
Well, you can always choose not to accept the bids, but we didn't have a choice because of the school project. You put it out for sale, different banks will bid on it. They'll say, here's this schedule, here's this schedule. Sometimes they front load it, you pay more upfront, less further back. They have different strategies. The bond consultant, both the bond attorney and a financial advisor review them, and they tell you what the best deal is for the town. You can, of course, we can always reject them if there was some reason to, we thought we'd get a better deal a different way. But it'd be like, let's say right now you decided you were going to buy a house 3 months from now. You won't, until you actually start the process, you're not going to know what the interest rate is that you're actually going to lock in at. It's sort of like that. But once you lock it in, if you lock it, then it'll be locked in. And then just to touch base on the returning the funds to the, you were referring to tax dollars, not bond dollars. It was tax dollars. It's actually not legal to return the bond dollars.
Bond dollars are tax dollars. We have to pay for those
It's not legal
bonds.
with the bond dollars. Once it's gone through that process,
And
it's restricted.
I really have a problem with the school. We have given so much money to the school budget this year. We've given so many extra millions because of this reason, whatever reason, the extra salaries that we have to pay. And now we're paying the bill with road money, we're paying the bill for the school construction, which is going to make it look like we can have, an unlimited amount of school construction going forward. I really think we have to start tightening the belt a little bit here with the school budgets and the school construction, especially in this age of inflation. So I'm generally really rather opposed to this kind of maneuver. I just think it should have gone back to the general fund. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have any comments or questions? Seeing none, the motion on the floor is to approve $384,463 of, hold on, where is it? Of bonded, resolve that the $384,463 appropriated from the general fund unassigned fund balance to the debt service function 1076 for additional principal and interest payments due in FYE '23 and referred to the RTM for approval. So, oh, I'm sorry, we have Representative Jacome with his hand up.
Oh, no, I was just raising my hand in support.
Okay. Representative Casper, did you have a comment before we vote? Nope, okay. Oh, okay. All in favor of the reallocation of excess bond proceeds, please raise your hand. I have everybody in the room.
Just missing Dean Shinbrad.
Representative Dean Shinbrad,
There's
okay.
Russ, okay.
All right, thank you. All those
Well,
opposed?
there's nobody left. Oh, here's one. Okay.
Anyone abstaining? All right, that passes 25 to 1 to 0. We are on to approval of the ordinance to establish a property tax abatement for surviving spouses of fallen emergency workers. As a reminder, we can veto this, or we can stand silent, and it moves forward. Those are our two choices. We may not make changes to any ordinances. Okay.
Would you like to read it in for me, please? Because I don't have to, I have a very
So
chewed
we
up
have
copy.
read this into the record already. Not the new one, though. There you go. I would say read it because it has some changes.
Okay. So the motion to recommend a resolution adopting the ordinance of the tax abatement program for the surviving spouses of police officers, firefighters, or emergency medical technicians, and refer to this to the RTM. Tax abatement program for surviving spouses, okay. Abatement of property taxes for spouses of firefighters, emergency medical technicians, Town of Groton police officers, Groton Long Point police officers, and City of Groton police officers, or civilian police officers, or firefighters employed by the
The
naval.
wrong one.
Yep,
Yeah.
see, I knew it was
All right.
the wrong one. John,
Try this again.
okay,
So which version did?
they have the
That's-
wrong one.
Right, I got three different
The
ones.
one that we're having
I think this is the right
is the
one.
one that you just read.
Okay.
That's the,
Okay,
that's the
so we are
minutes,
going to
that's the
read
minutes,
this
that's
one
why.
in.
Okay,
Okay.
I
read
think
it
we
in.
have the right one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Adoption of an ordinance tax abatement program for surviving spouses of police officers, firefighters, or emergency medical technicians. Abatement of property taxes for spouses of firefighter, emergency, and medical technicians, Town of Groton police officers, Groton Long Point police officers, and City of Groton police officers who die on duty while in performance of their duties. A, definitions. The following words, terms, and phrases, when used in this section, shall have the meaning ascribed to them in this section, except where the context clearly indicates a different meaning. Applicant means a spouse of an emergency worker as prescribed herein. Emergency medical technician, EMT, means any person who is certified as an emergency medical technician by the State of Connecticut Office of Emergency Medical Services performing EMT duties, full-time or part-time, for any valid ambulance service provider located within the geographical boundaries of the Town of Groton. EMT duties means duties performed while traveling to, at, or returning directly from calls routed through the Emergency Dispatch Center, or tests or trials of any apparatus or equipment normally used by the employer ambulance service provider, while instructing or being instructed in EMT duties, or while engaging in any other duty ordered to be performed by a superior or commanding officer of the employer ambulance service provider. Fire duties means duties performed while at fires, while answering alarms of fires, while answering calls for mutual aid and assistance, while returning from the calls for mutual aid assistance, while directly returning from fires, while at tests or trials of any apparatus or equipment normally used by the firefighters, while doing to or returning directly from such tests or trials, while instructing or being instructed in fire duties, and any other duty ordered to be performed by a superior or commanding officer in the fire department. Firefighter means any person who is duly employed member of the volunteer of a municipal fire department, performing fire duties for any valid fire department located within the geological boundaries of the Town of Groton. Death while in performance of duty means the death occurs while the firefighter, emergency technician, or police officer is performing any action solely related to performance of their duties. Death during the performance of duty does not include death that could have likely occurred while not on duty, or deaths that result from illness or disease, whether or not solely related to the performance of their regular duties or as part of it. Time to and from the place of business is not considered a performance of duties. Police officer means a duty sworn member of a municipal police department serving in an official capacity, full-time or part-time, while compensation, or a duly sworn member of the town police department serving the town in an official capacity, full-time or part-time, and for any valid police departmental location located within the geographical boundaries of the Town of Groton. Police duties means any action which an officer is obligated or authorized by law, rule, regulation, or written condition of employment of service to perform during regularly scheduled hours or other hours that qualify for compensation from the local police department. Surviving spouse means the person who was a resident of the town and legally married to the police officer, firefighter, emergency medical technician at the time of their death. Valid ambulance service provider means any business/nonprofit engaged in the business of transporting sick, disabled, or injured individuals by ambulance to and from the facility or institutions providing health services. B, in accordance with the Connecticut General Statute, Section 12-81X, there is hereby established effective for the Town of Groton Grand List of October 1st, 2022, an abatement of 50% to a maximum amount of $2,000 of municipal real estate residential property tax due with respect to real property owned by the surviving spouse of a police officer has died as a result of the performance of police duties or firefighter who has died as a result of the performance of fire duties. The abatement only applies to town taxes due to the Town of Groton and does not apply to any district or other political subdivision where taxes may be due. C, the tax abatement will remain in effect as long as the surviving spouse owns the property as of October 1st grand list and occupies the residence as their primary residence. If the spouse subsequently purchases another residence in the town and all qualifying criteria remain, then the tax abatement shall apply to the new residence. For any property that is in a trust, a copy of the trust agreement must be provided to the assessor for review. The terms of the trust agreement are that the claimant must be considered the primary beneficiary of the trust. Upon the death of any person entitled to tax relief pursuant to this section, the tax relief hereunder shall end the following June 30th. E, if any person who is entitled to tax abatement hereunder conveys their fee title of the property with respect to which the tax abatement hereunder has been granted, the tax relief shall be suspended as of the date of the conveyance, and the non-qualifying grantee of such property shall pay the town a prorated share of taxes thereby due and owing. The assessor is to be notified by the applicant of the conveyance within 10 days of the property date transfer. F, the property tax relief provided for this section shall, in any case where title to real property is recorded in the name of the qualifying spouse with any other person or persons, be prorated to reflect the fractional portion of the ownership of such qualifying spouse, or if such property is a multiple family or multiple use dwelling, such relief be prorated to reflect the fractional portion of such property occupied by the qualifying spouse. A spouse desiring such abatement shall submit an application to the assessor requesting a determination as to whether such abatement is permitted. G, if surviving spouse remarries, the abatement shall cease commencing with taxes on October 1st grand list, next following the date of such remarriage. In the event that such remarriage shall terminate, such surviving spouse shall not be eligible for a tax abatement under the ordinance. H, the surviving spouse annual income may not be more than 400% of the federal poverty level for a single person's family/household as published annually in January in the Federal Registry by the Department of Health and Human Services for the 48 contingent states in the District of Columbia. I, the tax collector and assessor shall prescribe with regard to the respective duties under this section such forms and procedures as may be necessary to implement this section. The assessor, in addition, shall take such steps necessary to satisfactorily establish the facts as to the qualifying surviving spouse's interest in the property by requesting such documents from the property owner as the assessor deems necessary. Such documentation will be required yearly to continue the tax abatement. Eligibility shall be determined by the assessor and/or their designee, and such determination shall be final. No later than November 1st of each year, the surviving spouse shall complete and file with the assessor an application for the 50% abatement, $2,000 maximum, and attest annually that, 1, they have not remarried since the death of their police officer or firefighter or spouse. Their adjusted gross income as reported to the IRS for the prior calendar year does not exceed 400% of the federal poverty limit by providing a copy of their complete Form 1040. Okay, this ordinance shall become effective on the 45th day after publication of the notice of passage and shall be applicable to assessment years commencing on or after October 1st. I so move.
Do you move this?
Well,
You don't get to move it. It's
I know.
either-
It's either we do it or it
Well, no,
don't.
you have a recommendation from the committee.
What's the recommendation of
The
your committee?
recommendation from the committee was, it was to veto. And we agreed 5-0 that we do this. And in my minute meetings, we described things within the ordinance that we didn't agree with. We took great detail. This came before the committee 3 different times. And to briefly say what I said once before, and I'll go through the notes that we took. And the other members of the committee, we found that the language was not correct. We found that the $54,360 is what the minimum 400% at this time is what the poverty level is, and we didn't feel that was, a lot of people make a lot less money than this, and the committee felt that people should be able to pay their taxes. There's all kinds of benefits that people receive when they are in the line of duty and they die. Depending on the circumstances that are involved in that, you have everything from lawsuits to workman comp claims to death benefits. It was mentioned that this is a negotiated bargaining agreement item. It's a contractual item. For people who are in unions or people that work as we all choose our careers have benefits, and if they are involved in a union, and I'm pretty sure most of our town employees have unions to represent them, these are items that we felt as a group were contractual items that needed to be addressed. We felt that there was other ways that we could have addressed this and given different benefits if they were required or asked for. There was 169 towns in the state of Connecticut, and from what I found, there's only 7 towns that are involved in this. The statute was brought up at the state level, and at that level, it happened in 2011. So we've had 11 years now, and we have 7 towns that are involved in this program. We felt as a committee that there was better ways of spending or not spending taxpayer dollars by giving the abatement. So we moved this to veto, and,
Before we make any motions, or before we second the motion, I want to read the town charter. So,
Excuse me, moderator?
yes.
Because because the agenda didn't have the correct version, it was mailed to everyone on the 7th, but it wasn't revised in the agenda. I think we better move this to the next meeting.
Do I have a motion? I agree. One,
I don't think you need a motion.
And there
It's
is
just
time within the 45 days still.
Yep.
absolutely.
Yep.
So because you all didn't get the correct version in
the
your
agenda.
minutes.
In the agenda.
Yes, in the agenda. Sorry, not in your minutes, in the agenda. It was mailed to you, but I feel like it's really important that you all have time to digest the correct version. We are going to move this to the next meeting. We have plenty of time to do it. So the
21st of October is when it has to be done, so the
Correct.
12th is the meeting.
So we will move this to September 12th. Are there any concerns about that? October 12th, thank you. Okay, seeing none, we will move that. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we are moving on to public safety. Chairman Brill.
I'll do it. I'll do it for you next time.
Okay, RTM Public Safety Committee met on August 31st, 2002. We opened the meeting at 7 o'clock. We're at the Town Hall Annex, Room 2. Present were Representative Adams, Representative Bailey, Representative Haslam, Representative Ivy, Representative Thomas, and myself as chairman. Okay. Also present were the moderator, Jill Rusk, and the Groton Chief of Police, Louis Fasaro. At this time, a motion was made to open up for discussion for the nuclear safety grant. It also was seconded, was opened by Representative Adams and seconded by Representative Hanscom. At this time, we had the Chief of Police give us a description of what the grant was about and what was going to be used for the money. And basically, this is a grant from the Millstone Nuclear Power Company, given to the state and then divided up into towns with the nuclear disaster area. The money was given to us for $65,900 for the emergency planning. At that time, according to the police on his chief, $40,900 was going to cover salary of the people involved with that. And $25,000 was for cameras to be put in different sections to monitor the evacuation routes. At this time, we put up for a vote. It was passed unanimously, 5-0. Okay, at 7:15, a motion was made to adjourn, and it was seconded, and it all in favor. So submitted, Joe Burrell.
Do you want to read the resolution in?
Nope.
All right. Here's the honesty. Shouldn't ask that as a question, I guess. Resolution authorizing acceptance of the Nuclear Safety Emergency Program Grant. Whereas the Town of Groton Police Department applied for and was awarded $65,900 in pool funding from the State of Connecticut Nuclear Safety Emergency Program, NSEP, and whereas the funding will be used to purchase web-based cameras to be located along evacuation points in our community to help telecommunicators as well as officers in the event an evacuation was ordered, and whereas remaining grant funds will be applied to EMD salaries and drill supplies, now therefore be it resolved that the Town of therefore be it resolved that the Town Council authorizes Town Manager John Burt to execute any and all documents to accept the NSEP grant funding in the amount of $65,900 and refer the matter to the RTM. Want to move that number?
I'd like to move that.
Second, Jacome.
Okay. Any discussion? Representative Thomas.
Yep, so in the committee, we discussed a number of things. I asked for some clarification from the chief on exactly like how these cameras would be used and where they'd be located, and would those locations be public knowledge. And to the extent of my memory, and correct me if I'm wrong, he acknowledged that they would be used for regular police business alongside the emergency uses, as well as like just general traffic monitoring and assessing, and that their locations would be a matter of record, accessible to the public. So those are two things. And they could also be used to help gather more information on certain problematic areas like Exit 89 and the whole Allen Street area. So I think there's some layers of usage here that are advantageous for the town. And it's being done in a transparent manner. So I can appreciate this grant, and I myself will be voting in favor of it. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, so the motion on the floor is to, I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me again. To accept the FY23 Nuclear Safety Grant. All in favor, please raise your hand. Okay. All those opposed? Any abstentions? Were you a yes? Okay. That passes 26-0. Thank you very much. And we are on to Chairman Watson. Chairman Merritt, do you have a meeting? I don't have anything on the agenda for you.
I did not have a meeting, I have information. I couldn't update from Greg Hanover.
Oh, yeah, he wanted to enter that.
Hold on a second.
I did see him come over here, and I thought that he was going to do something. Because
Okay.
he's on the list here, so.
I did forward an email.
Okay. I didn't see that. Come on up.
Yeah, so I had to go over this
As far as Public Works is concerned, this is an update on what we approved of. Military Highway is completed. Laurelwood Road is near completion. There was some difficulties with the drainage there, but they also are doing what they call a full road program now. They go right down to the bed of the road, redo the bed, then put 2 layers of pavement on and do all the drainage and the berms, et cetera, et cetera. I've had some complaints about the water runoff and the storms we've had, but those will be taken care of with the drainage completed. Bids are coming in for Buddington Road. That'll be accepted and considered in October. DOT is doing Route 1 from South Road to I-95 at night. The milling is going to be the 19th and to the 25th, just to let you know. And then they're going to be paving from the 3rd to the 14th. So the shopping center is pretty much going to be tied up, Long Hill Road, et cetera. And Groton Community Center Athletic Field. The CIP to do the work, the bids came in over budget. So Greg Hanover decided to do the work himself in-house, and he incorporated the highway department and subcontractors for work that we didn't have the equipment or the expertise for. And Parks and Rec will be doing the hydro seeding and putting the grass down and finishing it off. And a contractor was contracted to do the, to do irrigation. They're installing irrigation on it. And this is the first time, to my knowledge, that this has been done since that school was built. And drainage also. And it's going to be part of the community center. And I think it's a good project, and the fact that it came in, it was done in-house, I think that's pretty good too. That's my report. Any questions?
Representative Thomas.
Yeah, I heard something about, this wasn't mentioned in your report, I don't, maybe I missed it. There was an overflow or something during the last rainstorm with the sewage treatment plant?
Not that I know of.
The manager can speak to that, I guess.
Yeah, hold on, let me find the beginning of it. During that big storm on September 5th, 6th, there was an electrical equipment failure caused by the wastewater at the wastewater treatment plant to bypass to Mumford Cove. The bypass is fully treated and chlorinated effluent. There will be likely higher solids. Let's see. It appears to be related to 3 of the 4 effluent pumps were knocked out that fully treat the effluent. Electrical contractor is coming to make sure everything is fixed. Let's see. EPA and all the relevant people were notified. There's no other action to be taken. There's no actions you can take, none required, and there's nothing to be taken at this point. Hold on.
What was the discharge? Sorry.
Just a second. 1.1 million gallons. There's 2.5 million processed per day. That's under the limit to essentially EPA just acknowledged and deep the report.
Representative Eben.
I just wanted to ask, I'm sorry, I didn't need to butt out. Could you just, so is that sewage is usually pumped to the Thames River and discharged on the Thames, is that correct? And instead, the failure of those 3 pumps led it to be discharged in Mumford Cove? I just want to understand.
Send me any questions, email, and I'll ask Greg to answer, please.
Okay, thank you.
Representative Chase.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I don't remember how much that CIP was for that field that they were doing at Fitch. Do you know if we saved money?
I don't have the figures on that CIP for that.
Do you think we saved money?
I can tell you that the bids came in, the original intention wasn't for us to do it internally, but the bids came in so high we had to do it. So I think that just got us in budget, is my understanding.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other questions?
I'd like to reference the remarks on the overflow, is the fact that any rainfall that comes about incurring involving the shell fishing, which is normally the big issue, they're automatically shut down for 2 or 3 weeks until the tests go down to Milford and come back. Those are the only tests that we can do right now, that the Shellfish Commission can do. We tried to approach Avery Point. They don't have the equipment to do the testing, so we're kind of stuck with a private contractor in Milford. So it takes up to 3 weeks to get, if there's any rainfall of any significance, they're automatically shut down as a precaution.
Okay. Thank you. All right, we are moving on to rules and procedures. Chairman, oh, did you have a question for Chairman Merritt?
Yes.
Okay.
A comment was made by Representative, I'm sorry, Evan. The town of Groton is not dumping raw sewage into the Thames River, is it?
No.
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 Okay. All right.
For clarification, the town of Groton is not dumping raw sewage into the Thames River.
No.
All right. Chairman Watson.
We got to change the subject here. Okay, this is the Rules and Procedure Committee. We met on August 31st in CR2 of Town Hall. I called the meeting to order at 6 o'clock. Present were, basically, the entire committee was there. Watson, Bright, Buccino, Massett, Thomas, and our moderator was also there. We discussed referral 2022-542, which is was basically Rule 9.6. There was some discussion. Representative Thomas commented on the recommendations from staff, and he said he was not in favor of changing the rule. The other committee members voiced that they were okay with the recommended change to add ex officio members to RTM members as non-speaking under public petitions. I commented that the people that are ex officio members of the RTM, I told the committee who the 14 people that are ex officio members of the RTM, and I might add, my wife is one of those. She's the chairperson of the Board of Ed. I also mentioned that as it stands now, ex officio members have more opportunity to speak than RTM members because we can't speak under citizens' petitions, and ex officio members can participate in RTM discussion, including under communications. I made a motion to change Rule 9.6, basically to read any member of the public who is not an ex officio member or RTM member wishing to which which basically adds them to the list of us also. That was seconded by Representative Massett, and it passed 4-1. Yes, Massett, Pacino, Bright, and Watson, and no Thomas. And the meeting adjourned at 6:13 p.m. We had a 13-minute meeting.
Are there any corrections to the meeting minutes? Representative Wells, are you asking to correct the meeting minutes? Okay. I'm not getting a response. Representative Wells? Okay. Then I will take a recommendation from you.
I would move the recommendation from our committee.
Okay, is there seconded by Representative Massett?
So now, I would just
So-
have to jump in here because you're going to take it to the vote. You can't. No, you can't take it. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry I was interrupting the flow here, but you've got a motion and a second, but the way the rules have to be changed, I think it's in your rules, if I had my rules in front of me, it tells you how you have to change them. And so every member of the RTM has to have the actual language with how it's going to be written, not just from your minutes.
Okay.
So they have to physically have that in their hands. So that's why this can't be voted on until next month.
Okay.
So
we
do I
will-
need to withdraw my motion?
Yes.
I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay, so next month, thank you. Next
Ed-
month, we will have the resolution, or the recommendation in the agenda, so that everybody has it in front of them, and we can vote on it then.
Thank you. Am I done?
You are done.
Just a point of information.
Yes.
I'm curious to know if, since we have the town manager and the town clerk here, who does write the staff recommendations on these? Who wrote this one?
Not me.
Because the staff recommendation reads, "It is unfortunate that the RTM has to consider adding the ex officio members of the RTM to Rule 9.6, but it is necessary to curtail the continued misuse of RTM public petitions."
That came from language from Representative Scott. I don't know who put it in here, though.
Yeah.
That's incredibly slanted
So,
Well,
I
and
don't
highly
know who
inappropriate in
wrote
my
this.
opinion.
Well, whether, you can't, it's not really, that's kind of moot. The point is the rule change. But to answer your question, if the motion and referral is read, that's what goes into the request for the discussion.
But it's
I'm
listed
gonna
as
ask-
staff
I'm gonna-
recommendation.
can I-
That's different.
No,
I'm going to ask that be eliminated from next month's meeting minutes.
Thank you.
Representative Surf.
Yeah, I absolutely can't believe that somebody actually wants this rule, because it opens up a huge can of worms.
We are not, hold on, we're not going to discuss this until next month, okay?
They're gonna have another meeting?
We're going to, no, they are not having another meeting. It wasn't put in the agenda, so once it is appropriately worded out for everybody to read, then we will have a discussion next month, and we
Okay.
will vote on this next month. Okay. So Counselor Bordelon, we're not having a discussion on this tonight.
I just would like to speak in general about something else, this process.
We're not going to discuss this tonight. Okay, moving
Okay,
on.
But I'm
We're-
asking to speak about process really quick.
Can we hold it till next month when we're having the discussion? Because we're not discussing it tonight.
I just find it a little strange that
Counselor
all the
Bordelon?
stuff doesn't make it to the agenda packet.
We're not.
This is the
It
second item
wasn't.
tonight. It's a little strange. This committee
Okay,
meets once a
Coun-
month, and then we
not how it works.
can't even put items in the agenda packet appropriately. A little concerning.
Don't be concerned. You have to know the
Okay.
process.
Is there any budget discussion tonight? No? Any other business? I did, you had a
I was gonna
correct
mention-
date?
yeah, I was going to mention two things. One, for the Citizen and Police Committee, I do believe that was moved to 9/26 from 9/19. So I believe it's 9/26 at 5 PM. And then I did just check with Chief Asaro about the cameras. They haven't done the survey yet, so they don't know the locations. But we're not going to hide the locations. They'll be available.
Representative Thomas?
I'm sorry, are we in new business now, or?
We are in other business.
Other business. Yes, question for the town manager. I understand that the town has no direct authority over the building codes and building inspections in Branford. However, has there been any discussion about writing a letter to suggest or heavily recommend? Because right now, as you look at the tax abatement deal, the town is forking over the majority of the money, but has very little control. It's just an odd situation. So I'm just wondering, what can we do to influence the city to be more aggressive, in your opinion?
The city? I think the city is trying to be aggressive. There's nothing we can do to the city, so.
Like a letter? Another one? I don't know.
I'm in almost daily discussions on this with Mayor Hedrick. And I do feel he's handling appropriately. I'm not going to say that about 100% about related, but I will say that about Mayor Hedrick.
All right, I'll send an email to follow up on this too. I would like, having reviewed the town attorney's opinion on tax abatement deals, I think it would be beneficial also for us to get some clarification exactly like, you know, how it breaks down, like per tax abatement deal, like which ones, we had one tonight that is in our purview, that we didn't vote on because of clerical situations, but still, that one comes before us, but other ones do not, and I'm just find that kind of ambiguity frustrating. So it would be good, I think, maybe to have it somewhere, you know, I mean, you've done a great job, and I want to thank you for what you did on the website with posting all the tax abatements. But maybe having like some disclaimer and or note explaining why this is under certain purviews and others are not, like which CGS applies and which ones do not. It would be helpful.
Well, right now, we don't know of any that apply. Now, this, we didn't handle the tax abatement tonight. We're doing an ordinance. That's different. So that's not the same thing.
An ordinance that abates taxes.
Yeah, but it's not reviewing an actual application for, you know, it's totally different. An ordinance versus actually awarding one are two different things. And we have not come across any so far, though, like I mentioned last time, the only thing, because we wrote it into our ordinance for the, was it TIFs, I think? Is that what it was? TIFs, that would come just because we put it in there. But we've not come across any yet that would actually have it go through the council, or the RTM other than that. That's the only one. So she looked at all the types we knew of, and we checked with Mary Gardner, and we don't know of any other types. So
right.
She
Thank
just
you.
said there could be something else out there we don't know about, or in the future it could be something.
Great, thank you.
Counselor Bordelon had her hand up next.
Yes, I was just wondering if the town manager could just read the email that was sent to the council regarding the failed pumps and the discharge. I know he stopped speaking about it, but if he could just at least read that, that's what was sent to us, and I think that should be put out to the public.
Report.
Okay, thank you.
Or
Town
I
manager
can
stated
read
that
it
he
if
would
you'd
forward
like.
it with the report. Representative Jacome, you had your hand up next?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, so yeah, I guess I should have put this in communications, but I did this past weekend. I was able to participate in the City Brew Run, the 5K. I just thought that was a good opportunity. I did that with Councilor Jones and my sister, and end on a positive note. Thank you.
Representative Surf. Oh, I'm sorry, Representative Merritt had his hand up first.
Yes, I have a question in regards to any information we're garnishing from the town attorney. Are we paying them per question, per se?
Yeah, further time, yes.
And do we go through the town manager, or do we have the authority to speak to them directly?
Well, it comes through me because I track the money and control the money, but.
Correct.
Right, and then the moderator, you would go through the moderator, the body can ask for something.
I'm just hoping that the membership of this body is aware of any questions to the attorney is costing the town money.
Correct.
And it should be authorized before the question is placed to the attorney.
Representative Surf.
Yes, I'm not quite sure how to state this, but I'll be quick about it. There was an article in either the Connecticut Record or the Connecticut Examiner talking about the ARPA funding and how they were sort of horrified that such a small percentage of ARPA funding is being used towards affordable housing for the people who actually suffered the most during COVID. And I'm wondering whether there's not some way that we can figure out how to use some of our ARPA funding, instead of spending so much on the golf course, towards helping those families who can no longer live in Branford Manor and who are having trouble getting their kids picked up by the school bus because they're getting moved around from hotel to hotel, and the school has told them they can't pick up their kids in these various places, and they're going to have to find a way to get their kids to school, and they don't have cars. Now, so there are situations like this. I'm wondering if there's the planning department, certainly community development and services, we should be able to allocate extra money out of those ARPA funds, since we have $8 million worth, to help these people who have suffered during COVID, have not been able to get jobs, and are having these really serious issues with their housing and their kids. So I'm actually addressing this to the town manager to see, because they themselves aren't going to apply for the funds. So how can we facilitate perhaps giving them access to some of those funds?
Well, we're still, we haven't awarded all the grant dollars yet, the ARPA dollars yet. There's a couple programs that would do things like home repairs, other things like similar to what the planning department does. Of course, there's money available for rent and other things at Human Services. She hasn't had a lot of requests, and they regularly get requests, but there hasn't been a lot of stuff that actually shows it's been affected by by the pandemic. She has awarded at least a couple, and we've told her whatever money you need, we can allocate more. But there's still a lot of money not allocated yet, so it's a little early to say what it's going to be.
So we could organize something like that to help them out?
But there's some program, it all depends on how the members on the long-term recovery committee score it, and then what the council wants to do. So,
Representative Merritt, you had another question?
Yes, I think that anything like that involving the schools should be a request from the school board to begin with. And we shouldn't just offer anything up.
I'm not following what you're saying.
well, we're only doing things we already have
I'm
similar programs
addressing
for.
what Representative Cerf was talking about.
Regarding the transportation? or-
Yes.
So I believe the transportation issues have been resolved. I can.
Last I heard they were, yeah.
Last I heard,
Mayor
they
Hunter
were
said
all
they are.
resolved. But I can reach out to the superintendent's office to ask about that.
Right, and anything to do with Branford Apartments, I still hold to the fact that it's up to the city, and we should wait to see what the city is doing. We're either
Representative-
going to take it
Oh,
over,
sorry.
or we're going to leave it up to the city.
Thank you. Representative Bright. Representative Bright, did you have a comment?
No, I just forgot to put my hand down.
Thank you. Okay. Seeing no other hands raised. Representative Watson.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you. It is 9:09.
Thank you. Just for clarification, there was nothing.